Welcome to Rip to Shreds, and today we are ripping Wolfman by Leigh Whannell in 2025 to shreds. Not the Wolfman, not Wolfman with no space in between. This is Wolfman Space. Well, Wolf Spaceman, not Spaceman. He's not in space. That would maybe be a better movie, though.
Possibly.
Yeah. This movie by Leigh Whannell, it is the whole Blumhouse coming in and doing the modern horror take on all the Universal monsters, and they now have modern problems like stalking women and the Invisible Man,
gaslighting.
Invisible Man.
And maybe
I'm a big fan of, but and maybe what?
I was saying this time maybe a little bit of overprotectiveness of their family.
Yeah, parental problems, family struggles, relationships. That's the new Universal monster movie thing, which I don't have a problem with, to be clear. But yeah, Leigh Whannell did Invisible Man. They were going to like pass off Wolfman to somebody else, and then yada 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 yada, back to Leigh Whannell, and it's just like he's the guy now to do it.
Yeah.
As far as trivia for this movie, as per tradition, ripping a movie to shreds. I mean, the main thing that everybody that has paid attention to this movie knows is originally Ryan Gosling was cast as the lead actor.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason that fell apart. I think it literally just came down to a scheduling conflict. I don't know.
I think it was creative differences. Because the original director was Derek Cianfrance, and he has a lot of creative control over his movies. And I think working with like Universal and Blumhouse, they probably wanted to keep it closer to what Invisible Man was. Whereas his movies in the past, Derek Cianfrance, that is, they're a lot about generational like trauma and things that go on with family.
I mean,
I feel like
this would have fit.
That's something that aligns like normally with Wolfman, with like the 2010 version, and then the one from 1941 as well. It's all about the generational trauma.
Did you ever watch the original? I've never watched the full thing. Does the original also like? Spoilers spoilers for all of the Wolfman movies. Go watch them if you care. Is the father also a Wolfman in the original movie?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, because I do recall that being the thing from the Benicio del Toro one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just kind of funny because like maybe halfway through 2025's, I was like, oh yeah, it's the dad. That's the wolf that's running around.
Yeah. It was kind of right in your face the whole time when that happened.
Yeah, exactly. So then, like, it wasn't a surprise at all, especially because it's like, oh, he's missing. I guess he's dead. Duh.
Yeah.
He's a spooky monster wolfman. Did you have another piece of trivia?
One piece of trivia that I haven't seen anybody talk about, but was pretty interesting, and it relates back to one of Leigh Whannell's old films.
Okay, no, this is not what we chatted about earlier. We were questioning amongst ourselves if we had the same piece of trivia, but we're revealing it now.
Maybe that could
live. Be. I don't think this was a Leigh Whannell film. Ooh. I looked at it, unless there's some sort of connection that I'm not aware of, but I don't think so.
So one of Leigh Whannell's previous movies that he didn't direct, but he helped write. Oh, this could be it.
I don't know. We're finding out.
Both characters escape from being confined by a chain-like object by cutting off their foot. Whereas Dr. Lawrence Gordon in Saw,
I did also think about that.
Whereas, dang, I can't remember the main actor's name right now. I feel like an asshole.
Chris or Abbott, I know is the last name.
Christopher Abbott, was it?
I think so. I have it pulled up. Give me 5 seconds. Maybe more than 5 seconds. Oh shit, I'm not on the
Yep.
right thing.
Oh, 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 oh.
Wolfman,
Yep,
go
Christopher
back.
Abbott.
Christopher Abbott.
Yeah.
Yes, who is also in It Comes at Night, and he did a great job in that movie. Just
Yeah.
fun fact.
And he was in Poor Things as well.
Yeah.
But both characters were chained to, an object, and they both cut their foot off to get away.
Yes, yeah. That was not my piece of trivia, but I do
Ooh.
remember thinking about that while I was watching the movie. I was just like,
Okay.
oh, I like that. I was a fan of that.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let's go. Little callback. But yeah, so Leigh Whannell just likes chopping people's feet off, I guess.
He's a foot guy.
That I
Save it for him for
I
later.
was definitely a fan of that. Then he's like chasing them with his one leg. He's like,
Hobbled foot,
crawling,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was like, oh hell yeah. But my other piece of trivia that maybe is just a coincidence, but I feel like there's a chance that it's not. Do you recall a older film that came out in the year 2000 and is also a werewolf film?
Ooh,
And it
Ginger
is
Snaps.
Ginger Snaps. And the daughter's name in this movie is Ginger.
Ginger.
And
Yeah,
the main chick that turns into the werewolf in Ginger Snaps name is Ginger. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's
She
not
literally
a coincidence.
snaps.
Yep. Literally. That movie, as far as like werewolf movies go, I think a lot of werewolf movies aren't that great. I would say Ginger Snaps for me is, at least as far as werewolf movies goes, probably a top 5. Maybe there's an argument for top 3.
Yeah, it was pretty well done, and with the whole transformation scenes and how they have the allegory why the transformation happens, that's something that's very relatable to a lot of teens that would be watching horror movies at that time,
Exactly.
And so I think that's what, because I remember watching it when I was around that age, and I thought it was a great movie just because it was like a high school drama, but packed with cool werewolf stuff to it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought Ginger Snaps meets Saw, I suppose, is what this movie is.
Yeah.
I don't think I really had much more trivia. Did you have?
I don't know if my
more?
last little trivia that I have is the moving company truck that was called Pierce, and it says it had been in business since 1941. The original makeup artist for the original Wolfman in 1941 was Jack Pierce, who did most of the makeup of the original Universal monsters, which was a cool callback.
Yeah, that's super cool. I guess I have another piece of trivia. So in the film, there's like a big, while he's changing, he's hearing something, hearing really loud noises, and then it's like, oh, it's just a spider in the closet, and his senses are overblowing like every little thing. The fun piece of trivia, this film is set in Oregon, and where the hell did that spider come from? Those types of spiders are not in Oregon. That thing was ginormous.
We don't have spiders like that up in this area.
Yeah, no. If it wasn't obvious, we are in the PNW ourselves and are very familiar with places like Oregon. Nah, that spider you would not find there. I believe the film was mostly filmed in New Zealand. Let me see. Country of origin. Filming locations. Wellington, New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that is literally it. Wait, so did they not film anything in Oregon? Like not even the little mountain, like the little cool area that they make a point to show?
Probably not.
I mean, that looked very PNW. Was that not?
I don't think so.
Damn. So
you got to think about it. Just shoot it in a beautiful green place, it looks like the PNW.
Damn. Okay. Well, liars. The lot of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Other
They usually screw it over with Vancouver too. They usually use Vancouver as a double for like Seattle or Portland.
Yeah, that's fair.
We might be too expensive to film in.
Other piece of trivia: the Wolfman 2010 is a better Wolfman.
If you would have said that 15 years ago, that would have been a hot take because a lot of people didn't like that movie when it came out.
I like that movie. I know that there's stuff wrong with it, and there's definitely like kind of middle to like that like third act, second act transition is like maybe pretty slow and rough. But I don't know. I like that movie. I think it's fun. I feel like maybe we should have done research on this.
Mm-hmm.
Is this, as far as a werewolf movie goes, does this have like the lowest body count?
I think so.
Yeah. Now, that is
I think the 1941 one had at least a few bodies.
Yeah, because what was his name? Derek, I think. His sort of not knew him from his childhood, but didn't like wasn't friends with him necessarily. The dude that's in the car and gets murdered.
Yeah, it was Derek.
So it was him. The dad dies, and then I guess he dies. Is that 3? Yeah. Is that literally it?
Yeah, the 41. I just looked it up. Has 4 people that died.
Bum bum bum. Yeah. Just wanted to take the mantle. Other little piece of trivia actually. Leigh Whannell voiced Dan, which I believe is the guy on the radio. I think.
Yeah, it was the friend.
Yeah. So, that's a fun little piece of trivia. But yeah,
I think we should get into this.
The first thing that I did really like about the movie in the very beginning was
anything with sound design. You're totally flying a coop.
Yeah, sound design. Yeah, everybody. That's the one positive thing everybody's saying. But the Wolfman introduction of that's out there and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
I like that scene. Felt very like cryptid. Felt like a Bigfoot movie, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it made me think of like if you're to make like an actual good Bigfoot movie. This is kind of the strategy right here. Like that was pretty dope. Like it very much felt like a cryptid out in the woods, and so my initial thing was like, oh, this is pretty dope. Kind of wish it stuck with that
first
vibe
like
longer.
10 minutes or so.
Yeah,
was so great.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, Leigh Whannell's got this film. He's got this under control. The whole suspense of the monster climbing the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And the dad getting ready to protect his son, at all costs, was just awesome.
Super
because
good.
you could feel the tension just slowly build, and then the little flares of breathing, the breath from the werewolf. I'm like, oh, that is so awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like being a kid that was raised in the PNW, raised on a native reservation, my playground was just the woods. I 1,000% could like feel the vibes of that scene and like could imagine myself being in that scenario. Like it felt very relatable. That's for sure.
Were you also a kid that didn't pay attention and ran around and did his own thing?
No. Well, maybe. I did get lost at one point. My older siblings had to find me.
Yes.
So yeah, but not like with a rifle in my hand. Yeah.
No, that might have been safer.
The one thing that like is obviously the big through line through the whole movie is like about is his father treated him rough, blah blah blah. Yeah. And the thing that I just kind of I get mad at when it comes to these just Hollywood movies when they're trying to do the dad is like too mean to the child, the parent is too mean to the child. They're never mean enough. Like it's like, have you guys experienced a parent actually yelling at you before? Like it's not like this, like especially like immediately then being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you." It's like, wait, that was yelling? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Like you're just kind of stern. You weren't yelling.
Exactly. So it's like they did probably a better job with his dad in the beginning at getting that across than they did for him.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't quite enough. It's like you need to make him just a little more rough. Like, yeah, he wasn't the nicest dude. But I get what you're
I think they were
saying.
trying to use like a little subtext and showing that we didn't see him at his meanest.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
like he was kind of a little overbearing and kind of controlling because we got a little bit of the small scene with him and Julia Garner where he was like, "Can you take that into the other room?"
Yeah. So
And we're like, okay, so we're seeing a guy that's very controlling of his nature, and which is what the first scene of the movie with the dad was showing us, that it's kind of went through the generations and he's gotten it now.
yeah, and I suppose one thing that they were also kind of like getting at is like he's been, because of his upbringing and his bad dad being so like rough around the edges with him, he's almost become a little too passive and too just letting his wife and daughter walk all over him up until this point, and now he's trying to like kind of take back a little bit of his alpha male presence or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, I don't know, he's being a little simp boy. He's getting walked all over by his wife and his daughter. What a sissy boy. Yell at them.
I kind of feel like we got a little subtext that he wasn't always like that, though.
Maybe. I mean, as far as
And-
his daughter goes, though, they just straight up have a good
Definitely.
relationship.
You can tell that his daughter, that he would do anything for his daughter and protect his daughter. But for the relationship with his wife, I feel like he was possibly a little bit too controlling, and but yet he was still loving, where he kind of sacrificed his career as a writer for her to become a journalist and move forward with her career before anything.
Yeah, and so I kind of wish that they actually like stated some of these things. The movie feels very one note, and
I feel like that's where the movie really kind of went south, is that we didn't get enough of character building. We got straight to the point. It was literally like 20 minutes into the movie, we're in Oregon and we're getting attacked by werewolves already.
Yeah.
And it's like,
even though I don't have a problem with that, like necessarily, it's just the fact of like how much we got along the way, and the fact that it was all just like one note. This is actually about toxic masculinity, fatherly abuse, how you put transfer that to your children, and trying to overcome generational trauma or patterns, and trying to be better, trying to improve. And it's like, I like that, don't get me wrong, but it's like you could have spent a little bit more time on all the other stuff too. Like, I'm not saying to take that out. I liked what you had in there, but you just kind of stayed on the same note the whole movie. And then maybe a decent amount of dialogue that was just too on the nose.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well said that, like, this is about generational trauma. Like, they almost, like, specifically said that.
My dad was bad, but I won't be bad for you.
Yeah.
You know why? You're a sidekick. You can read what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Which, I think that little thing came pretty good at the end, where he's unable to communicate.
Yeah.
The one thing that I did really like, as far as this one note, as far as staying on this one note the whole time, my favorite part when it came down to that, is when he is changing, and he all of a sudden can't understand his wife, he can't understand his daughter, and they can't understand him. That felt really good for the subtext of that, of a man that is dealing with these problems of like rage and aggression and
communication issues.
He can't get it across. He literally can't communicate with his loved ones because, like, you know, a lot of his rage and aggression is stemming from potentially reasonable things, but because he's lacking like maybe emotional intelligence or maturity, whatever you want to put it, he can't get it across. And so then, you know, in the real world sense, that comes out as yelling and breaking things and stuff like that. And maybe other forms of abuse, if you know, if it's a really bad scenario. So I thought that was great, having that be part of it, where it's like, I literally, like, he can understand himself, but can't understand them. They can understand themselves, but they can't understand him. They are specifically trying to, and then he's having these breaks, little outbursts and stuff like that. So that was great. Like, thumbs up for that part, aspect of it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what it's trying to say with like his sickness and everything like that, it was almost like kind of leaning on when a loved one is getting a terminal illness and they're losing that part of them where they can't connect with a person anymore. There's, you know, they can't talk. And so towards the end, when that started switching over, I'm like, oh, is this maybe talking about like some kind of terminal illness that like a loved one got, and then that father's not there to protect the family anymore, and now the wife has to take over? That's why we saw that sudden like shift where now the wife was the main character and she was the protector of the family. And then the father was there slightly protecting, almost like in the background. But it felt like they were trying to like have like some kind of like terminal illness allegory, and or maybe even like a drug allegory or drinking allegory, where, you know, the father's so drunk he cannot communicate with their family, even though the family's like trying to talk to them. So it was it was really, really cool how they did all that stuff, but I just feel like it wasn't concentrated on what the movie was trying to say almost, you know. It was like it was like something that I feel like the movie should have be built around, instead of you know, having this outside force. It should have been this father, you know, is the one that's kind of like slowly turning on his family, which we saw little snippets of, but I don't think that it was as strong as it could have been. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. This movie, I think, literally falls victim to the number one movie standard: show it, don't say it. They kept just saying it. They did a decent amount of showing it, but when it really counted, they showed it, and it's like, I get it, and then they explained it and said it, and it's like, what the fuck? So
I'm wondering if, like, you know, if this is something like we've been talking about with like what I said with the Nosferatu episode is with like the I cannot think of it,
studio interference or
the Northman.
Where
there's like
didn't get the final cut, that kind of stuff,
where they wanted such a quick turnaround because they spent so much money on developing Ryan Gosling's film, sorry. And, you know, they want to get their money back. So they're pushing this auteur or director or writer to hurry up and make this movie. And it's almost like it needed a few more.
It feels like a first draft or a second draft. Yeah. No,
it feels like it needs a little bit more seasoning, you know?
Because, like, it
was getting there.
The classic thing of, at least for me, when it comes to writing, that really stands out to me is trim the fat. Each draft that you do, trim the fat, especially when it comes to your dialogue. Get to the essence of what you're trying to say. Don't just say it flat out. And then they have lines in here that are just like, you see, when a parent is so protective of their child, they don't want them to get scars, that they end up scarring them.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to say it's a good line, but at the same time, I don't think it's a good line. I get what you're
shown that pretty much.
Exactly. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you literally just straight up said it. It's too on the nose. There's too much that's on the nose. I
almost feel like, you know, that Leigh Whannell and his wife are the ones that wrote this film, and I feel like they built it around this werewolf character and the scenes of trying to connect and the relationship stuff. And then when they got when they got further out, they didn't have much else to say. And this is why I think they were stuck in like the first couple of drafts, because this film, if it had a little bit more to say and if probably a few more months of seasoning or a few more drafts of seasoning, this could have been a really, really, really good film, because it had some awesome, awesome shots. That shot where he's fully given into his animal instinct and he's laying there and the lights just start dimming on him and he's just, you can tell on his own, he's alone, isolated from them, even though they're right next to him trying to, get his attention. That was a wonderful shot.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in it for sure.
Yeah, this movie has a lot of cool things. It's just that I don't like to say this much, but I think the writing is what's holding this movie back a lot.
Which is surprising because Leigh Whannell wrote Upgrade, Invisible Man,
Which I haven't seen, but Invisible Man was great.
Yeah, like he does have the skill set, so that's why I feel like too rushed. Some sort of studio interference, something went on there. Because it has the great baseline. I'd be curious if there's an extended cut that just kind of has more. But if it's an extended cut that is just more of the same note, well then no, you don't need that. It has to offer more than just what's there.
Yeah, and another big thing is for being a Leigh Whannell movie and for being a Blumhouse movie, it's we didn't get that much body horror. I thought there was gonna be more body horror than what we saw.
I'm pretty sure there's more body horror in Upgrade.
Yeah, and what we saw was it's a typical horror movie where I felt like this was gonna ramp it up and we were gonna see some crazy transformations. But I understand maybe probably what they were going for. Was just something more realistic, maybe more of a aligned with a sickness or a disease that's taken over the body instead of a werewolf transformation that we've seen in the Wolfman 2010 and then American Werewolf in London.
So I do kind of appreciate that they didn't necessarily repeat anything as far as the transformation goes.
Because this character kind of looked like a cross between The Fly and the original werewolf design from the 1940s. It was pretty simplistic, and I don't know if he was using that to kind of draw through the emotions of the actor's face, which some of the shots we saw all that emotion, him trying to protect his family, him trying to communicate with them, and he couldn't because this disease or this transformation has gotten too far and he can't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's feeling scared that he can't protect his family, or he's feeling scared that he might be overbearing and hurt his family. And
yeah, for sure. I think maybe one thing that definitely could have helped the movie is just up the horror, up the quantity of how many things happen. Because when it came down to it, it was essentially a drama. Which
with little horror aspects.
Yeah, I'm okay with that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong. But it kind of feels if to a degree it's they only went a certain amount of deepness and definitely down one avenue of deepness when it came to what they were trying to say with their drama. So it's well, you kind of need something to supplement that because you didn't go quite all the way. So give me some more
surface
chaos level. Yeah, for sure. It was just a little too surface level. The horror stuff that was there, I was loving. I wanted more of it. Any of the werewolf chase sequences, great, loved it. Especially there's something about the way that they shot the werewolf chase sequences, especially because all werewolf movies, if a werewolf is chasing you, CGI. It's just BS. It's whatever. Seeing an actual dude chasing him like that, it was freaky. Yeah. You could envision that being downtown Seattle, crackhead chasing you. So I was all for that. I wanted more of it. Obviously, they had a decent amount of little chase sequences. So what more can you do? So no faults with that. just I don't know, maybe just throw in an extra character that they could have murdered, and then I'd be more happy. But for the most part, though, I did like this movie. I would say this movie was good, like small, like lower caps, good, like
Yeah.
um,
It was something I was really, really looking forward to because, Leigh Whannell has that name to him and he knows how to make a good film. And it's just like maybe our, expectations were set way too high. And maybe, at least for me, I'm a little butthurt, a little sad that, I didn't get to see Ryan Gosling and Derek Cianfrance do a version of Wolfman, which I was really excited to see. But
yeah, same.
that could be just me. But I just feel like I haven't checked like any of the Rotten Tomato scores or anything like that, so I don't know what anybody else thinks of this film. But
Yo.
What's up?
Okay, now I understand. Something went wrong. Wolfman 2025 was produced on a $14 million budget. However, reshoots and other factors led to a final budget of $150 million.
What?
Something went wrong.
So that's why we got such a jumbled movie.
Yeah, okay, they ran into some issues.
Okay, so I'm guessing their issue was the Wolfman character itself, and the original idea didn't come through how they expected, and so they had to probably reshoot different Wolfman ideas. And that's probably what the most expensive part was, because I read that they did a lot of the scenes practically in camera where it changed from werewolf vision to the human vision, So that can't be it.
Yeah, no, like there
it
had
looks
to be
like a
some
very, very cheap movie. So if it's saying it's $150 million, wow.
There had to have been some major issues and reshoots.
They are not going to be making any money back. I can tell you that.
I don't understand how this happened. Yes.
If anybody knows that's watching this, what happened, please let us know.
Unless somehow Google is just lying to me right now. Like, correct me by all means, because this just sounds wrong.
But maybe you might be looking at the 2010 one, because I know that was pretty expensive with all the CGI and stuff.
It specifically says 2025. So
that's crazy.
I don't know. Because now I'm also seeing stuff that says $25 million budget.
I could see that.
That would make more sense. But
yeah,
looks like the opening weekend has been roughly around 20 million.
So they're gonna make their money back if it's 25.
If somehow it's not 150 million, because that is, I don't understand that.
Yeah. I also think that,
I mean, yeah. So a lot of it says around $25 million production cost. So I mean, marketing. They did all sorts of different marketing with this. They did that Halloween Horror Nights thing where they unveiled the Wolfman costume and had an actor run around, which did not get a good reception. But yeah,
I don't know. I feel like in the advertisement they should have kept the father turning into a werewolf away from the advertisements, because I feel like that kind of broke like a big surprise of what the film could have been as well for like the common viewer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like this has got to be a lie. This 150. That's the biggest F up I've ever heard of, if that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
With all that said, what are you giving this movie out of 10 or a 5 or whatever you'd like to give it out of?
I like to keep it out of 5 because it forces me to stick with a more solid rating. whereas I feel more confused with so many choices. With it,
Too many ideas,
1
too
to
many
10.
choices.
So 1 to 5. I want to say a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of stuff I enjoyed watching it. It is definitely not a perfect movie. It's one of those movies that I will not argue with someone if they have a bunch of issues with it, because it's like, yeah, valid. But I do like it. I like the horror stuff that was in it. I do like the little message that they were trying to say with it. I just wish it wasn't so on the head, and a little bit more show, don't tell. Kind of like it honestly reminds me of the first Joker movie, where spoilers for the first Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, where he blasts Robert De Niro's face off. The whole, like, his little joke he tells before he shoots him, that's the worst part of the whole movie, in
Hmm.
my opinion. Not necessarily what happens, just the dialogue right there. That dialogue is awful. Of, this is what happens when you leave somebody mentally ill and abandoned. It's so on the nose that you just, okay, let's just describe what I'm trying to say right now. Like, get out of
Hmm.
here. Say something more clever. It reminds me of that, to a degree, with some dialogue where it's just so on the nose of, let me just explain what I'm trying to get across, rather than let me paint this picture in an actual realistic human interaction way.
Hmm.
So it reminds me of that, which is definitely not good. Um, I wouldn't say it's as severe, because like that bothers me from the Joker so much that it's like, man, that movie's really good, but that one piece of dialogue is like, bro. Especially such a climax moment. But no, yeah, all the horror stuff I liked about this. I like the climax in the movie itself. I do wish, when he does end up dispatching the other Wolfman, aka his father, that it was a little bit cooler. It's just kind of like, whatever.
May bite your neck.
Yeah, rawr. But then at the end, when she ends up shooting him and stuff, and that whole scene I was happy with. I like that. Um, could have used a little bit more character development for the mom. Um, but yeah, so like, good, lowercase good.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
All right. Well, I give it 5 hobbling werewolves out of 10. I think it has a lot of cool stuff, really, really cool stuff, really cool ideas. But I think it just falls flat on its face. It's very surface level, and it just feels like it is a draft of a greater movie. There's a greater movie that this movie could have been. It's just that I don't think they got the chance to make that greater movie. I think they were forced to speed through it, get it done, get it out, so Universal, Blumhouse can make their money back on how much money they've already spent on pre-production on the other werewolf movies and probably Dark Universe. But yeah, I just wish that we could have saw that movie that I feel like Leigh Whannell was wanting to say, but he didn't get a chance to tell it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like he was able to tell us what his idea was.
Yeah, this feels like here's a cool idea I'm working on. I'm still working on it. There's a
Cool,
little bit of
let's shoot it
seasoning I
next
need to
week.
yeah, let me show it to you on my next draft.
Yeah, very much feels like that. That's for sure.
Hmm.
Well, okay then.
Well,
Um, did we rip Wolfman to shreds enough? Did we chew off some legs enough for y'all? Hopefully it was $25 million worth of chewed off legs and not
yeah.
$150 million worth. Um, like, subscribe, tell us how we're wrong, that the movie wasn't actually about toxic masculinity, that it was about um, a love story between the wolves inside you, and they're both kissing, and they're boys, and they're inside you at all times, and you have to fight the wolves And this movie's actually about being a closeted homosexual.
Whoa.
Whoa. Is that what this movie's about? I know people say that that's what American Werewolf is about. American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Freddy Krueger, the second Nightmare on Elm Street is about that as well. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I just missed it.
Yeah, I mean, this movie it's the memes, all the divorced dad memes of like the alpha inside me. You don't want to catch me on my bad side, Maybe that's the real meaning of this movie, and we all just need to be divorced dads. I would love to see the ratings of divorced dads in this for this movie. Maybe it's got like tens and tens.
Yeah. Maybe we just weren't the targeted demographic.
Maybe. I bet they'd love it. I guess that's it.
I guess that is it for us.
Bye.
Have a good night, guys.